Okay, welcome back to Violent Money TV. Today we are joined again by George Staines, who returns at Octagon 61 on September 21st in an unbelievable fight. I mean, this whole card is stacked, but obviously this was going to be one of the ones that we were going to pick out as something that people should tune in for when you take on Jakub Tichota, who I think is a really good next step for you. Obviously,
Yeah,
he, whilst a lot of people will probably look at his pro record and just looking at the numbers, you go, okay, well, he's got a decent amount of pro experience, but the guy is a lot more experienced than you would first
yeah.
think. As is the case with you as well. When people look at your pro record, how do you see this fight in terms of the next step up? Because for me, like, and this is a credit to yourself and Octagon for putting this fight together, because you haven't had easy fights so far
No,
anyway. But this is still a big step, I think.
no, yeah, it's definitely another step up. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be taking easy fights because, like, if I'm taking easy fights now, it's gonna be a massive detriment to me in like years to come. It's kind of like you're gonna trip at your first real hurdle. And that me personally, I think a lot of the time you rise to the occasion. I'm a massive believer of that. So, and a lot of the time, I always rise to the occasion. You know, and again, like you say, Jakub's very experienced. Even 5-2 is an experienced pro. You know, I mean, 5 fights, and like if you were just looking at the fights, you don't really see his actual record. His last 2 fights have been for titles, and what he went 4 rounds with Cater. Do you know what I mean? That's Cater's pretty dangerous. Um, and he took it on 2 weeks' notice as well. Do you know what I mean? So he's a good skilled opponent, but I just think it's a fight that I'm very capable of winning.
Obviously, the added thing is he's been away for a little bit and he's
Yeah,
going up a weight class for this fight, right? I
yeah,
can't, yeah, because
yeah, yeah.
the Cater fight and stuff. I feel like whenever I speak to anyone who's had experience, like a lot of amateur experience, which obviously is more of a common thing now than it was even just a couple of years ago,
100%. Yeah.
a lot of the guys that I speak to, yourself included, have that mentality of wanting to fight the next best guy because you've been through the amateur game where you know that that only makes you better. Even
Mm.
if you take a step and you go, okay, maybe that was a step too far, the amount you learn from that, it doesn't end up being a setback. Like, do you think that's where that comes from, that mentality?
I, I, yes and no. Obviously, like if you want to be the best, you're gonna fight the best people. Like
Mm.
I've always wanted to be the best. Since I started amateur fighting, I wanted to be the best amateur in the country and in the world, and I definitely proved that I was the best in the country. Do you know what I mean? I literally had to go to the semi-finals of the World Championship to even like lose. Do you know a fight? Do you know what I mean? Um, but it does definitely come from amateur because you can see like from amateur, if you look at my amateur record, probably if you look on the actual records of everyone else, probably the easiest fight on paper was Ben Willis. Do you know what I mean? Who took it on 24 hours notice. Very solid striker, you know, world champion striker. Not an easy fight on paper, you know, really. But again, smashed him. And I think I've always had that mentality since my amateur debut, and I've not what I didn't want to do what everyone takes easy fights. You know what I mean? Like you look at a lot of people. I'm not going to say any names in that, but you look at some of the people who you know are like at the same level of pro as me. They're fighting a lot of kids with like not negative records, but not very good records. Whereas like I only want to fight people that are going to make me better in the long run. To me, it's pointless if I'm not like what am I here doing?
Yeah, I think it makes it exciting as well for people that
Yeah,
are following your career because it doesn't feel like from making that jump from amateur to pro, it can sometimes feel like, okay, well, the first couple of years we're just building, we're just gaining more experience. And then you're starting to get, oh, you're
yeah,
getting this person versus this person. That's a great match. We're getting this already. You know, like you said,
no,
fighting a
yeah,
guy that has already fought. I mean, Cater, one of the biggest names in Octagon, if not Europe,
Oscar, yeah,
former title challenger as well. It's like we're already here. We're already in the
yeah,
fights that like when you were coming up through amateurs, we were like, oh, can you imagine if George gets pro and then he gets to fight this guy and this guy? We're
yeah,
already getting them. It's already
yeah.
here.
But that's what I want. Like, obviously, like I had a big name coming to pro anyway. You know, from having such a successful amateur career, and I didn't want to. If I was like taking lesser fights, it's kind of going to stop my momentum going forward. Like, I would just want to keep the ball rolling, especially since the show. You know, after I fought Dennis and that, like, I just wanted to keep that ball rolling, and that's what I'm trying to do.
It does feel like the Octagon Challenge series was kind of like a perfect thing for you in that it,
Yeah.
like I said, that gap that you usually have where someone turns pro and you're like, okay, well, they were good amateurs, but we'll give it a couple of pro fights, see how it goes. It seems like the Octagon Challenge just accelerated that whole process. It was like, let's get that done and dusted. And then once you come through there, it's like that basically accounts for your early pro career all in
Well,
that one gap of like time
yeah,
straight on. Like, is that
yeah.
how you feel as well? You kind of
Well, yeah,
bypass that period.
because like obviously the two fights on the actual TV show are exhibition bouts, so they don't
Mm.
actually count towards my record. Which obviously for me is a bit frustrating because I got two wins. But in the same breath, like it only means I'm a 2-0. Do you know what I mean? So essentially, I should be a 4-0 professional. But like you said, I kind of had them warm up fights, and the fact that they were so close together was just like kind of did accelerate everything. It was like it just everything. It was like a perfect jigsaw. Everything just fell into place perfectly.
Yeah, I think it's one of the great things about MMA is the fact that, you know, someone's record, at least just the numbers, doesn't tell the whole story. If you
Yeah,
compare it to like boxing, we wouldn't be getting fights that are this exciting when, like you said, your pro record is 2-0 on paper, and
yeah,
yet here we are fighting former title challengers. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's one of those where if you know, then you know. Like you don't
yeah,
need
yeah.
to. You can't just judge it off of the numbers, and I like that.
No, yeah. Like you said, both me and Jakub, both former IMAF champions. Jakub's had obviously he's had more pro fights than me, but like I say, he's coming up a weight category. I'm bigger, in my opinion. I'm better. Um, so I think it's a perfect fight for both of us. A good fight for him because in his head he thinks he can win it after being out for 18, 19 months, but he can't.
How has it been kind of, I mean, you've had a, like I said, you kind of accelerated this process, but how was it adapting to the pro game? Because it kind of felt like, again, this happens more and more every year where, you know, the amount of amateur experience you had, you were basically like competing at a pro level already because of
Yeah.
the IMAFs. So I can't imagine there was a whole lot of changes that you had to go through in order to really make that transition to being a pro. But have there been any things that you have had to change up over that time? I
Um,
mean, I've seen you've been training at Next Gen and stuff, which
yeah.
obviously is a big step for your career in terms of
Mhm.
training with some of the best guys in the UK, if not Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. The move to next gen's been phenomenal, you know, for just for me in general, like it's pushed me to kind of like that next level, which I probably needed to be fair. The Personally for me, the only thing was really like, you know, pacing. Like my game's very heavily like obviously grappling, so it's very easy to add in them elbows. And like obviously the only real thing I've got to remember is I can crank now, like neck cranks and all that stuff. Because sometimes you do forget. Because obviously having such like I was an
Yeah.
amateur for what, like 5 years. Obviously it's illegal. So for 5 years of fighting, I was just like can't crank, do all these. Whereas now I can, you know, just get someone's neck and just full on rag on it. So again, like I'd mainly just say like pacing and obviously like getting like weight cut down properly as well. That's been a massive thing. Working with Paul Reed, just like making everything super super professional.
Mm. Yeah, well, I might have missed the explanation for this, so I apologize. I thought I
No,
would
no.
wait and get the story from yourself. The last fight, did we get a George Staines heel turn? Did you do a fake glove touch? Because this I
No,
remember seeing this being like a big
yeah,
thing, and then
I
when I
got
watched it
ragged.
back, I was like, it's not that big of a deal.
No, kind of. Yeah, I got ragged for this massively. So
Yeah.
I didn't actually. I didn't fake the glove touch. I
Mm.
just touched gloves, and then kind of in my head, everything was moving that quickly that like 10 seconds had passed. I was like, he's open, bang, hit him. Because like usually people step back, and he never stepped back. So I was like, oh, he's just open for a punch. Like I didn't purposely going like, yeah, I'm gonna fake touch him so I can just get the slight advantage. It just kind of happened, and like I really didn't mean to happen because I've never done it before in my career ever, and I never will do it again. But you know, kind of like when you're just in that moment, like this is happening, I kind of just like touched gloves. His left hand was down, so I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna chin him, and it happened. But like I got no, like everyone's saying it was dirty and that I got no advantage off it. Like it was just a complete accident. If I'd have knocked him out, it's like, oh yeah, it's a bit dirty, but nothing. It didn't affect the fight one bit.
think you can tell. I went back and watched it again because I remember seeing people mention it online. I was like, I'll go back and watch this
Yeah.
again. And I think you can tell from your body language at the time, like you said, that it's a read that you make in the moment. You don't start the round going, I'm gonna do this, which is what
No,
people
yeah.
would do if they were actually gonna do it, right? It would have to be a
Yeah.
premeditated thing.
Yeah,
Uh
it was literally just like instinct. I was just like, he's open, bang.
yeah. It got blown out of proportion a little bit, I think. But
Yeah,
these things happen, I guess.
but like it is what it is. People like to hate, don't they?
Yeah, well, and also I feel like a lot of people that said it don't know you as a person. That's why I said
Yeah.
about it being a heel turn from you because it's so against what I know about you to even think of doing something like
No,
that.
honestly, it will never happen again.
From now on, there'll be a couple of seconds at the start of every round where you're just like,
Everyone's just like, that'll
yeah,
be the most
wait,
exciting bit.
yeah, like do you remember when Masvidal fought Nate Diaz and he like faked the knee and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
crowd
yeah.
went crazy for it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everyone will be
Brilliant.
waiting for it. The biggest takeaway, obviously, apart from the fact that you got the win there, which was an impressive performance. I remember seeing you chat about this and post about this. That you'd already had a Lego set picked out, and it was a hefty one as well. That 8080 is no joke. How long did it take you to finish that?
19 hours. I proper rushed it. So I was
19
going on.
hours.
Yeah, I was going on holiday like 3 days after I bought it. Um, so like I was like, I'm just smashing this out. And I did it in 2 days, but I spent like say 8 hours, or pretty much like not even that, more than like 9 hours each day building it. It was
That the
a
longest? Is that the longest build you've had to
yeah,
do?
yeah. It was a heavy one. It was it was the first bit was a bit repetitive because you build the legs first.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So obviously you build it's the same thing 4 times. So it's like God's sake,
Mm.
again, again, and again. And then when you get to like the body bit, it's like, oh, this is getting fun now.
How do you find room for something that big?
I don't. I don't have the room. My girlfriend's been telling me I need to stop buying it, but I can't because I love it. It's my hobby. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just literally I just found it so fun, and like just looking at it like so you because in that 8080 you only get like you don't get a lot of minifigures, and you only get like you get two speeder bikes with it, but it holds four. So I had to buy a couple like battle packs to go with it. So I bought like two or three battle packs so I could fill it out, and it looks a lot better now. But it's just it. I just I don't like spend a lot of money on anything else but Lego. That's all I buy and like. So for me, it's just like that's the same as people going out and drinking.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's what I
There's
like to do.
there's a lot of ways that you could celebrate a fight that would be
Yeah,
a lot worse.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Do you have one already in mind for when you get past September 21st?
yeah. So I'm either because there's the release or there's rumor to be the releasing Jabba's sail barge at the end of the year.
That's gonna be
Um,
hefty.
yeah, so I'm like, ooh, I might wait for that. Or there's they've just released a Dark Millennium Falcon. It's not a huge one; it's a smaller one. So like on Disney Plus, they're releasing like a what if of Star Wars.
Oh right, okay.
So you get like a Darth Jar Jar and a Jedi Vader, and I want both them figures. So it's kind of like you got to buy the set to get the figures, and the set's sick anyway. It's like all black and red. It looks proper sick.
Yeah, that sounds good. It'd be a
Yeah,
nice little addition, that one.
yeah.
But either way, mate, thank you so much for your time. Buzz, like I said, this
No
fight,
worries.
Octagon 61, like I
It's
said,
gonna be a
it
good
feels like
one.
we're already getting to the point where we're seeing you in the fights that we wanted, like we thought
Yeah,
maybe could happen years ahead. And we're getting them already. So it's exciting stuff, mate. And yeah,
very
appreciate your time,
exciting.
man.
Oh, mate, anytime, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No worries, mate. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll
You
catch
too,
up with you
pal.
after.